So Matt here, and this is gonna be the first video that I'm doing uh for what I made this channel for. Of course I did make this channel to spread the word of God and stuff, but I also kind of wanted to do some what ifs. So here's my first one, and it's gonna be one that I've been thinking about for a while. I have been working on this story for a while, so I'm for where I'm at. I'm already in the Boo Saga, but we're probably not gonna go for that far today. So, what if Raditz turned good? So, our story is going to start, of course, with the arrival of Raditz, right when they have caught in him with his tail. Now, of course, they're about to shoot him, and then Raditz says that he will help them, and he, instead of saying they'll leave, but of course, after pleading with his brother let go. So, he then tells them about the Saiyans that are heading to Earth. And then, of course, they trained for a year, practiced with the Ozaru and stuff. And Goku does tap into some of that power that he had against Demon King Piccolo. So the new threat, of course, we're gonna go over some power levels. Goku is at 8,000, so maybe not as much as it was in the series, but again, it was over 8,000. But it's going to be quite a bit. Raditz's is at 9,500. I'm going to keep him above Goku for a little while because he was stronger than Goku in the series. So, of course, whenever that happens, he's going to be stronger than them and stuff. Piccolo is going to be a little bit stronger now at about 4,000. Krillin and Tien, they're going to be around 2,500. So, Yamcha is sitting at a good 2,000. Chaozu is at 1,000. I think originally he was at like 800. So I did just buff him up a bit because since Raditz is there, they got a little bit better training. Now Gohan's not up here because A, I forgot to put him up here, and B, because his power level is most likely going to be the same because of they decided to train him similarly. Like they still threw him into the wild for about 6 months and then started training with him, and I'd say that it pretty much went that his power wasn't too much different because he was still learning to fight the whole time. Then, just for a reiteration, Nappa's is at 4,000 and Vegeta's is at 1,800. So, of course, Reddit says that he will take on Nappa, and after a good bit of fighting, Raditz goes for a double Sunday, and Nappa goes for his mouth beam, with the mouth beam paralyzing, or the double Sunday paralyzing Nappa after it hits him. With a very quick fight, seeing as Raditz's power level is far above Nappa's. So Vegeta has no use for a worthless Saiyan, and he kills him. Of course, just as usual. Then they move the locations, just like in the normal series, to the Rocky Plain. Vegeta, he don't care. He just wants to fight Kakarot and stuff and get the Dragon Balls and wish for immortality, so he can then go on to defeat Frieza. So they all die. So Vegeta goes to attack Gohan, and Piccolo jumps in the way, getting killed, and Vegeta is a little bit mad after hearing that the Dragon Balls have been destroyed because of that. Then Chaozu goes to jump onto Vegeta's back, which then causes he explodes, and it does not work. Then Vegeta goes and blasts Yamcha because Yamcha tries to jump in with the Wolf Fang Fist and gets destroyed. And then in a rage, Tien fires a full power Tri Beam, ending up taking all of his life force and killing him. Then both Raditz and Goku go in to fight Vegeta. It doesn't really end too well. But at some point they do manage to hurt Vegeta enough for him to activate the False Moon technique. Of course, that turns both Raditz and Vegeta into great apes. But, as I said before, with a little bit of training, Goku was able to unlock something that the full moon helped fully complete. So Goku was able to go into Ikari, where he has the power of a great ape, so multiplying his power tenfold, putting him at 80,000. Of course, not as close as Vegeta, but with a little bit of help from him and more control over his form, he was able to destroy the false moon, turning back both of them. So then Vegeta goes off back into space, just as before, to get back and recover and get the Zenkai boost. Of course, Krillin did try to kill him, just like in the original series. Well, actually, Krillin didn't, because they weren't there. So by the time Krillin and Gohan got back, they just saw everything that had happened. Saw Goku and Raditz on the floor, both in very much pain, after seeing Vegeta leave. So they get him to the hospital and stuff. And then they head off to Namek to go and get the Dragon Balls. Because after hearing about the Namekian and everything, they need to go get the Dragon Balls to revive their friends who have fallen in battle. So then, of course, Namek is going to go basically the same because Goku and Raditz are still recovering. So, of course, it is still just going to be Gohan, Krillin, and Bulma heading straight there. So, not much of a difference there. So, of course, it's not going to be a difference. Then, of course, Goku and Raditz recover after they get the Senzu Beans, just like in the normal series. So they are going to have one less Senzu Bean, but hopefully it should be okay. Raditz did get a new outfit. Of course, I cannot find pictures everywhere of him in this outfit doing everything I need him to do, so he's not always going to be wearing it, but we're just going to pretend like he is. Okay. So, after they get on the ship, they train for a bit, and after a long while, of course, we're skipping everything that already previously happened, they arrive on Namek. Both of them first jumping off into a Ikari because Raditz has learned how to control it, and so has Goku on their time on the time chamber. So, of course, just as normal, Goku goes and knocks out Riku first with great tremendous speed. And then Raditz will take care of Burter this time and defeating him. And then they do defeat Jace too. And after they defeated Jace, Ginyu comes and fights for a bit and just jumps straight into taking over Goku's body after knowing he does not stand a chance on a 2-on-1. So he goes and tries to take over Goku's body because he seems to be the one who wasn't paying attention the most because he was just sitting there watching Raditz fight. And then right before he does, Raditz notices and jumps in, pushing Goku out of the way. Then Ginyu now has full control over Raditz's body. Gohan does, of course, jump in like before, and he does blast Raditz with a full power blast because, of course, he's mad after Raditz took care, or Ginyu got rid of his dad. So after a fight, everything happened. So Ginyu tries to go for round 2. He powers up another change now to go ahead and get Goku. But of course, then Raditz jumps in to get his body back. So then, Ginyu tries one more time on Vegeta, but gets put inside of a frog. I don't know what's wrong with this picture. It's just really funny. So that was the end of the Ginyu Force. But of course, Frieza is there. But Raditz goes into the pod to heal because, of course, his body got greatly damaged whenever Ginyu took it over. So instead of it being Goku this time, it is Raditz. So Goku jumps in to fight Frieza, and actually he's holding pretty good on his own, being stronger because he was training with Raditz and has more control over his Saiyan nature because Raditz helped him with that. He was able to push Frieza into his second form and even into his third form. So he is quite a bit stronger. But then Frieza's third form pushed Goku into using Ikari again after he had regained enough stamina to use it again. But then Ikari pushed Frieza into his final form. I don't know what's happening right now. Well, there. Okay, so they go back and they start fighting again. So, they're having a pretty good fight. Raditz does eventually wake up and head over to their location. And after a brief fight, they both fire a powerful blast at Frieza with enough power to amount to almost the Spirit Bomb. Not quite, but it was just enough to push Frieza over the edge, enough to defeat him. But then, after they were all rejoicing and having a nice, merry time, Frieza jumps right back into the fight, blasting Vegeta this time because Vegeta never died, because Goku was there to fight Frieza. So Vegeta has now been knocked down onto the ground. So he's going to gain a tremendous power boost from this, but it will also help with a little bit of rage, maybe a little bit later on. And then, of course, he goes and he blows Krillin up, and that pushes Goku over the edge, pushing him into the legendary Super Saiyan. So, of course, after being pushed into the legendary Super Saiyan, they're just pushing pretty far. So Goku and Super Saiyan, Raditz, and Ikari, knowing what this legendary Super Saiyan power is, he goes ahead and tries to help Goku fight Frieza. But Goku does tell him to leave, and he does help summon Purunga, and the wish is made to send everyone back to Earth. So, Goku and Frieza are having a battle after, Frieza tries to blow up Namek, and then they get into a fight over the Earth. Of course, Goku allows Frieza to go into full power again, and defending Vegeta's pride and everything that he murdered, everyone he murdered, he is now fighting Frieza. He's wanting to protect everyone on Earth, including his brother. So, of course, Frieza does end up hitting himself with a Death Saucer, and then asks for mercy and gets blasted with that. Now, moving on to the Android Saga. So, of course, Frieza returns. Sorry for the low quality picture. It's like one of the best ones I could find. Then a mysterious man and, well, a mysterious teenager, two mysterious teenagers show up, a man and a woman, who the Z Fighters have no idea who they are, but of course the boy goes Super Saiyan, taking out Frieza, and the girl takes out King Cold by catching him off guard. So she did not go Super Saiyan. It is not confirmed if she is a Saiyan or not, but they do know that she is there, and she is quite strong enough to take out Frieza's father. Of course, after Goku arrives from Yardrat, the teenager goes and he talks to Goku, telling him the backstory. So he tells him that his name is Trunks, and he is the son of Vegeta and Bulma, and that the girl is Ranch, the daughter of Raditz and Launch, because of course at some point on Earth, Launch gives up on Tien, of course, and sees Raditz, thinks that he's cute and everything, and actually both versions of Launch love Raditz. I don't know if the blue-haired one liked Tien or not, but of course that happened. And in the past, Raditz, Gohan, Ranch, and Trunks were the only ones to survive. At some point, in a rage, Raditz unlocks Super Saiyan, going off and fighting the androids and inevitably dying. Now, of course, this makes Ranch very sad and has the comfort of Chi-Chi, Trunks, and Gohan. Of course, at some point, Chi-Chi gets killed, and then Gohan, pushing both Ranch and Trunks over the edge into Super Saiyans. And then, of course, Trunks tells him about the medicine and everything. I didn't put the slide in there, but he does tell him about the medicine and says that they will be back in 4 years once the androids show up. Of course, Ranch is very happy to see her father again, but after everything that has happened, they go into the time skip. And of course, throughout this time skip, Ranch does have his daughter, and that's when Goku, of course, tells him. Um, you know, so they welcome little Ranch into the world. Of course, Trunks is also born within this time period. But then one day the androids show up. Instead of taking out Yamcha in the city, well, yeah, they probably did still take out Yamcha. And then the Z Fighters do show up to go and fight them. Both, and of course, Raditz, whenever he thought his brother was dead, he he unlocked Super Saiyan, so he has Super Saiyan now. And of course, Goku also goes into Super Saiyan. I don't not remember why I picked the Sparking Zero picture, but of course, they both go Super Saiyan to fight the androids. But then they of course, as Saiyans, take turns. Of course, Goku goes and gets the heart virus, so that sucks. Vegeta shows up, taking out Android 19, and then Dr. Gero flees and activates 17 and 18. Of course, they do find the lab at some point, and well, they don't find the lab because Android 17 and 18 fly out, ready and prepared. Of course, this time they are a little bit stronger because they have the power of Akari. So they are a tad bit stronger here, but that wouldn't change too much because, of course, they have Super Saiyans and different things. But Goku, of course, is in bed. Raditz wants to stay at his brother's bedside because he cares about his brother. And, you care about your baby brothers. So he's at his bedside waiting, so Raditz will not show up much. Of course, the future warriors do show back up, Ranch hopping straight into Super Saiyan to fight the androids. Piccolo fuses with Kami, and Cell is still out there, but they do not notice with their fight with the androids because this time they are actually hopping straight in because Raditz isn't there, but they just wanted to hop right in. Then a fight between Android 17, Piccolo, and Ranch, of course, takes off. And after a brief fight, Android 17, the mysterious Cell shows up and absorbs 17, pushing him into his second form. Of course, then he goes and absorbs 18, while Krillin goes to blow her up. They all get their Saiyan armor on, of course, to go and train because they need to find something to fight Cell. Of course, this is a little different because Cell basically skips his second form because, they got the explosive early because Ranch had thought about it. So that happens, but then they go ahead and do it. So this is the order. So, of course, first Vegeta and Trunks are going in because Vegeta is very impatient. Then Goku was nice enough to let his brother go in because he knew his brother would probably get stronger easier. And, of course, his brother is stronger than him, so they're going to need him as a valuable asset. So next up will be Raditz and Ranch. And then, of course, Goku and Gohan. By the time Goku and Gohan get out, it will, of course, be different. They will be out. So there's not going to be like 10 days because they're going to be in there for a little bit extra. So maybe about 8 or 9 days. So of course, they go in there. Vegeta, Trunks, they go. It pretty much goes the same. And I actually found this. So there's a little bit of a fight going on. Ranch is never in here. And it was getting a little hard. And she thought that she could catch her dad off guard. So she tries to. It does not work. Then she does get she does get a haircut, of course. And he says, if you don't like your haircut, I'm sure Launch can fix it up. And she says, I can't believe it. I messed up every suit of armor Bulma gave me. I hope Trunks isn't here, and without a mirror, I can't tell if Dad gave me a good haircut or not. Couldn't tell. Ranch likes Trunks, of course. Then, you have Goku and Gohan who go in there. Pretty much the same. Gohan learns Super Saiyan and everything. Then the Cell games after the days of peace. So first off is Goku and Cell because Goku was who Cell was designed to kill. Of course, he does decide to forfeit, gives Cell the Senzu Bean, and puts Gohan in, knowing that he is their best bet. The Cell Juniors do come out, and there's of course 2 extra Cell Juniors for Raditz and Ranch, and they're actually beating them down pretty badly. Pretty strong Cell Juniors. Of course, then Gohan gives Super Saiyan. I'm sorry for the video if y'all don't like it.
俺の好きだった自然や動物たちを守ってやってくれ。
許さないぞお前たち
He's in Super Saiyan 2, of course, kicking Cell in the chest, and he does apparently get cocky at some point after taking out the Cell Juniors and everything. So Cell goes to blow himself up. Now, this time it's a little different. Yes, Goku has instant transmission, but he doesn't know who King Kai is. So, not knowing who King Kai is, that kind of makes things a little difficult. So, Goku, using the propulsion of the Kamehameha, is able to push himself and Cell up into the sky, where they blow up. Of course, Raditz is very pissed, and this rage is what helps him unlock Super Saiyan 2 later on. So, once Cell comes back, of course, as they see Cell fly out of the explosion after regenerating, and he states how he is now perfect in his own version of Super Saiyan 2. Of course, Raditz, knowing that Goku's sacrifice was in vain, decides in goes Super Saiyan 2 in his rage. Of course, they have their own little battle, with Cell shooting off a Kamehameha, and Raditz shooting off his own little blast, which of course is in a very strong beam clash, which then Raditz does get beat back down, but then Gohan goes and fires the uncle-son Kamehameha with Raditz. Of course, I know Goku's in the picture, but I didn't know what else I could do. So, of course, with the uncle-son with the uncle-nephew Kamehameha, they were able to eradicate Cell. What's up, guys? Matt here. Welcome to part 2 of What If Raditz Was Good. If you remember correctly, last time, Raditz and Gohan, of course, fought Cell and killed him. Now, of course, Goku is dead and the world is at peace. But then, of course, before Ranch and Trunks wanted to go back to their timeline, they wanted to check out Dr. Gero's lab because they never got the chance to destroy it because 17 and 18 stopped them. So, Krillin, Trunks, and Ranch, and Gohan and all of the other people were there. And they were looking around the lab, trying to see if they could find a way to destroy the lab or just find anything that might help them. Mostly they were trying to look for Cell. Now, they found these blueprints, which are Dr. Gero's blueprints, which showed androids 1 through 7 and their various problems. They showed that about number 8, which they remembered, 9 to 15, then of course they remembered 16, then of course 19 and 20, and they also showed 17 and 18, and Cell. So they knew Cell was in the lab. But one thing really did call out to them. All of the in the entries for number 9 through number 15, it said all of them had one problem or another, but numbers 13, 14, and 15 were pretty close to the final android form. Of course, they were pretty curious. Then, fidgeting around with some buttons, they pressed the button that thought that would open it, because it said, of course, open capsule, so they thought that maybe Cell would be there if they pressed it. Well, then 3 other capsules to their right, or wherever, that said 13, 14, and 15, well, they started to open. Of course, releasing androids 13, 14, and 15. So now, they didn't know what to do. Of course, they tried to blast them, which started destroying the lab. Trunks grabbed the blueprints, and they thought that they had killed the failed android experiments. But they did not, because they all showed up. So, of course, Raditz powered up into Super Saiyan 2, which, of course, he obtained. And he started fighting 13. Ranch decided to take on 14. I think that's which one that is. And then Trunks went on to take 15. Trunks cuts... and then after a little bit of fighting, Trunks cuts 15 in half. Vegeta finally shows up, sensing this strong energy, and destroys the other one. And then, of course, Gohan shows up to help with 13. But
inferior craftsmanship, to say the least. 14 and 15 have been destroyed? How sweet it is! I feel great!
So now, of course, Android 13 was there. So he went and attacked Vegeta, then Trunks, and Ranch, Raditz, and even managed to take out Piccolo, who of course had showed up, because Vegeta, Piccolo, and Gohan, they all showed up around the same time. But, 13 just went off picking them off one by one, slowly destroying them. As you can even see, Ranch picked up Trunks' broken sword to even try and combat 13, but it did not seem to work out in the end. Of course, seeing all of his friends hurt, it pushed Gohan into Super Saiyan 2 once again, him being very furious and everything. Then, after a big beating, they all ended up giving their energy to Gohan, Vegeta, Piccolo, Trunks, Ranch, and Raditz. After giving up their energy, Gohan was able to launch off one Kamehameha that was able to destroy 13. Of course, 13 was not very long-lived, of course having Gohan this time, unlike in the movie originally, where they did not really have Super Saiyan 2. Now, of course, for my beloved ones, the indomitable Great Saiyaman. Of course, the Great Saiyaman saga, of course, pretty much goes the same. I mean, Goku's dead, and Raditz is there, but he wants to kind of let Gohan do this, at least get some training, because he stopped training for so long. So hopefully this will give him something. But of course, Gohan has been training a little bit more, with Raditz there pushing him. And of course, Goten and Trunks are born sooner or later. Oh, Trunks is already born. Goten is born, Trunks is older, and so is Ranch. And they all become good friends. Also, they all have obtained Super Saiyan, of course, just like in the original story, including Ranch. Now, straight away into despair, the terror of Majin Buu. Of course, Goku gets brought back to life for the World Martial Arts Tournament, just as before. So, he gets there, and the first thing he notices is Raditz and his daughter, so of course he goes and greets them, along with all of his other friends. And then this is when he meets Goten. Now, the bracket is going to change a little bit. So, Krillin and Pintar still fight, Supreme Kai and Piccolo, Videl and Spokovich, Kiboto, Gohan, Android 18 and Mr. Satan, Goku and Vegeta, Mighty Mask and Killa, and Yamu, but this time fighting Raditz. So, of course, not that much important. Just kind of wanted to add that small little detail. So, their match is going. It's normal. Krillin easily takes him on. Piccolo forfeits. Videl gets beat up, pushing Gohan to get really angry, but then he gets matched with the Kiboto Kai. Kiboto asked to see Super Saiyan 2, where of course Gohan was able to push himself into Super Saiyan 2, showing it off. And just as before, he gets his energy absorbed by Spokovich and Yamu. Now, of course, again, this is all part of the Supreme Kai's plan. A little detail. Mighty Mask is Goten, Trunks, and Ranch this time. I forgot to mention that earlier. I don't know why this slide is after that. So, of course, everything else is going on with Gohan and everything in the background, but we're just going to go ahead and get this part over with. So, it turns into an all-out brawl, just like before. So, everyone except for Mighty Mask and Android 18 are left standing. So then, Mighty Mask is fighting 18 and has to go Super Saiyan to defeat her. And she notices that it might be the kids or something. I mean, of course, Master Roshi's done notice, just like before. And then goes to fight, and then they, of course, swap it up. And Ranch says that she can use her double Sunday, but they just settle for Trunks' blast because they don't want to go too strong on her. And Ranch can't really regulate her energy as well as Trunks can, so they just thought that it would be better if Trunks did it, so they don't kill Android 18. And then, of course, she rips up Mighty Mask's costumes, and they are forced to leave. Now, of course, they sense the energy of the fight going on at Babidi's ship, so of course their first instinct is to fly over there, but they probably won't show up for a while. Now, they are all on. Now, the Z Fighters, or Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Raditz, have all made it to the ship. Piccolo and Krillin being turned into stone, just as before. Now, Vegeta goes off to fight Pui Pui. Of course, they do go to his planet and everything, but Vegeta doesn't even need to go Super Saiyan to easily, swiftly defeat him. Moving on, Majin Yamu. He goes, and Goku offers Raditz to fight, but Raditz wants to see what Goku is capable of. So, of course, Goku, figuring out that Yamu eats light, does everything else, and causes him to blow up. So, that was a good victory for Goku. Then, last but not least, Gohan wants to prove himself by fighting the Demon King, Dabura, so that they can save their friends. Of course, pitiful fight that Vegeta really isn't like watching. Seeing how much he's failing, he wants to step in, saying that he wasn't there for family bonding time and everything else, just as originally said. Then, of course, Dabura gets that idea to maybe get the evil out of Vegeta. So he goes and tells Babidi that. Now, there were two candidates that he saw. He saw Vegeta and Raditz. In Raditz, there wasn't as much evil, but that also kind of just made Raditz even more easier to control. So, of course, Vegeta and Raditz are now taken over. Vegeta fighting the control and being in full control, wanting to fight Goku, and Raditz not. Now, Raditz is going to be a very important part here, because if you remember correctly, whenever a Majin takes damage, it gives power to Buu. And I would say that'd be whether Buu is hatched or not. So, of course, Goku and Vegeta get teleported back to the arena, where Vegeta blows up the audience, pissing Goku off even more. Well, not pissing him off, but, making Goku really mad. Then, back at Babidi's ship, Majin Raditz is finally fighting the kids who finally showed up, being Trunks, Goten, and Ranch. Trunks, being the most eager one, thinking that he is the strongest, tries to charge in, thinking he could take Raditz. Of course, he quickly realizes that that is not the case. Then Goten tries to jump in, and he also gets hurt. Ranch gets hurt, but not too badly, because Raditz, seeing his own daughter hurt, kind of snaps him back into control. Now, of course, he still has the Majin power, so he wants to use this to defeat Majin Buu, who was just hatched because of all the power being radiated, especially from Goku and Vegeta's fight, because while Goku was in Otherworld, he learned Kaioken from King Kai and, of course, the Spirit Bomb. But, as I said, Majin Buu is hatched, Gohan and Raditz try to fight him. But they quickly get dismantled, not really being able to do much. Of course, Gohan gets punched far away, and Raditz is hurt, so Supreme Kai teleports both of them to the Otherworld. Now, as I said before, Goku just learned Kaioken, so he's trying to utilize that to the best of his ability to try and defeat Vegeta, especially sensing Majin Buu, Gohan's energy fading, and especially his brother, Raditz. So he's trying to quickly finish up this fight, jumping into Kaioken, not really trying to hold back as he was before, because he needs to go and help his brother and stop Majin Buu before he causes any more damage. So, of course, he finally powers up into Super Saiyan 3, maybe shortening his time on Earth, but also being able to defeat Vegeta. And then he instant transmissions over to where they are, to Majin Buu. He tries to fight them, but as I said before, Majin Raditz was a very important part in this. Because yes, Vegeta was taking more damage than in the original story, giving Majin Buu more power, but Raditz was also getting beat up by Majin Buu after he hatched. So Majin Buu was kind of farming him for power. So now Majin Buu is very powerful, making it where Super Saiyan 3 Goku can no longer defeat Buu. And then Vegeta shows up, knocking out Goku. Of course, he shows up knocking him out because Goku's been damaged, so he can easily be knocked out now, especially after using Kaioken. And then Vegeta explodes, killing himself, but just narrowly not finishing off Majin Buu. And now Vegeta is dead. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Okay, so if you guys remember last time, Vegeta blew himself up to stop the destruction that Buu would cause, but ended up killing himself in the process. Of course, Buu is still alive, but also, if you're the Kais brought Gohan and Raditz onto the world of the Kais, and of course, Gohan pulls out the Z Sword after they tell him about the legend. So he pulls it out to see if the sword can maybe stop Buu, but then, he's got the sword now. Of course, Goku goes to the lookout to see if he can teach the kids the Pitar fusion, or not Pitar, Metamoran fusion. So he picks the two oldest, which are Ranch and Trunks, and tells Goten that he's sorry, but they need the strongest that they can get. So Ranch and Trunks are the oldest, therefore they are the strongest. Pretty equal in power too, which will make this a whole lot easier, making the fusion a whole lot stronger than Gotenks was. Of course, they do at some point master it, and they get Bronx. So this is Bronx. Sorry, the image is so bad, I couldn't find many pictures of her. Well, then after Goku goes back to Otherworld, he senses Gohan's energy and comes and gets hit in the head like before. After testing the sword a little bit, they throw the Kadenites and it breaks the sword, which of course releases the Elder Kai, who explains his backstory, and then does the ritual on Raditz and Gohan, saying that they are really strong. Gohan, of course, having the most potential, but he decides to do the ritual on both of them, seeing as they are the only two alive, and, well, the strongest there. Of course, Buu becomes Super Buu and is destroying the city, as you can see in the background. And, of course, once he gets to the lookout, he does his Earthender attack and kills all of humanity. Or, some of it. Of course, Ranch and Trunks are in the time chamber, training, so that they can fuse and fight Super Buu in the time chamber, which they do end up doing. And, with Ranch in this fusion, the fusion's a little bit more lightheaded. So Super Saiyan 3 Ranks fights Super Buu, and in the end, they do end up losing and getting absorbed by Super Buu. So Super Buu becomes Buonks, whatever you would want to call it. So then Piccolo destroys the time room and tries to fight Buu himself, saying that they will be stuck in here forever. And then he absorbs Piccolo, creates the portal, and leaves. Now, by this time, the ritual is finished. So, Gohan has now obtained Mystic, and Raditz figured out that Ikari can be mixed with Mystic to create a pretty powerful form. Then the Elder Kai gives up his life for Goku to be able to be brought back and to fight. So once they get there, Gohan of course fights Boo-Tanks, or Boo-Unks, and it's not doing so well, and he's the strongest of the three of them, so they know that they don't really stand a chance against Boo-Unks. Now, of course, Boo then eventually absorbs Gohan and becomes Boo-Han. Then Goku has the Potara, so then he Potara fuses with Raditz, and then they become what's his name? Radiku? Yeah, they become Radiku. It's ready to fight Boo-Han. And they of course go straight into the Mystic Ikari form. And of course they do eventually turn into Super Saiyan, still of course with the Ikari thing going on. And then Boo prepares a very powerful blast, thinking that it will stop them. But of course, in the end, well, you know, they clash back. They're not just gonna sit there and let Boo destroy the Earth or whatever. So then, after this powerful clash, Boo is then destroyed completely. Boo is now dead, and we can move on over to Battle of Gods. So, you know, a few years have passed, time of peace. Vegeta is permanently dead now because, you know, King Yamane never gave him his body back, so he has already been reincarnated, so maybe the Super Dragon Balls can bring him back, but for now he is dead. And Beerus finally wakes up from his hundreds of years nap and has these dreams and visions of the Super Saiyan God. And in his dream, of course, he has a vision of two rivals. So he's wondering who these two rivals are. In his dream, one of them has long hair, the other one, the shorter one, and he of course has a little mirage or hallucination of the short-haired one. So he doesn't know where these two Super Saiyan gods are, but he's trying to find them. Of course, Goku and Raditz at this time are training on King Kai's planet. So Beerus shows up and Raditz offers to go first, hopping straight into Mystic. And of course, Beerus makes quick work of Raditz. So he backs down, and Goku shows up. Goku steps up to fight. Of course, he hops straight into Super Saiyan 3, seeing how Mystic wasn't even enough to stop Beerus. Because Mystic is kind of like accumulation of all their forms. But, so he goes into Super Saiyan 3, and it's not enough, so he goes into Super Kaioken 3. Because again, seeing as Kaioken was something he had recently gotten in the Buu saga, he wanted to use it more since it was like more of a multiplier. So he, of course, has been training it, and he is currently in Kaioken times 10 here, on top of Super Saiyan 3, but he still gets defeated by Beerus. So, of course, Beerus then heads to Earth to try and find the Super Saiyan God, which he really thought that either of them was the long-haired Super Saiyan God that he had saw, because, you know, they both had long hair at some point, so. But Whis takes them to Earth, where he enjoys Bulma's party. He has fun with the food and everything. And then after the party, he challenges Gohan, wondering if he's the Super Saiyan God. Well, he powers up into, well, of course, he's been keeping up with his training a little bit, because, you know, he hasn't had much to study, you know, he got out of school and everything, so Raditz has really been pushing him to train, so, you know, that helps Goku also push him to train a little bit more, but he's been to King Kai's planet a few times, but not much, because Goku's always there, and he never really has time to catch him when he heads there. He doesn't really care about training that much. But Beerus says that the long-haired Saiyan already tried this on him, so Gohan knows that he's fought Raditz. Well, he still tries it out, and he still loses, And then, out of nowhere, Goku shows up. Of course, Raditz is also there. He's just down there with them. But, Goku goes up on the little thing like before. And has the idea to summon Shinron and ask him. Well, he tells them about the ritual. So, Goku is the candidate. Of course, Raditz is the strongest of the two. But Raditz wants Goku to do it, He wants Goku to fight Beerus. Also Goku wants to get back at Beerus for that little flick that he did on him. So Goku says that he'll do it, and Raditz is of course okay with this, but says that next time he will do it. It's kind of like how Vegeta said it in the original. He said next time he will be the one in the ritual or to get the next form. So of course to help him with the ritual is Raditz, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Ranch. So of course they don't have the issue of running out of Saiyans here because Raditz would replace Vegeta, and then of course Ranch is there. So Videl does not really reveal that she is pregnant here, so Gohan is still unaware. Well, Goku then ascends into the Super Saiyan God. And him and Beerus, of course, do fight pretty much like as normal in the series. He would try to mix Kaioken, but he doesn't know how that would work with the God Ki. After learning what that is, he kind of rules out Kaioken because of the toll it already has on Super Saiyan 3. Super Saiyan God doesn't have as much of a energy toll, but he doesn't know how Kaioken would affect that. Of course, if he did something similar to the original series, how his powers were disrupted when he used it with Super Saiyan Blue, but he just decides to fight Beerus, especially with the Earth on the line. He does not want to start testing anything yet and experimenting and then end up losing in the end. Of course, they do fight, and their fight ruptures the universe a bit. But Goku pulls back like in the original, stopping the universe from being destroyed like it was before. But everyone on Earth started feeling like the rupturing, even the Kais did. But then, of course, at some point, Goku's God Ki, or godly power, runs out, reverting him back into a Super Saiyan. And Beerus does mention this, and Goku realizes, but he still fights on. And then, of course, at some point, Beerus falls asleep, and that is the end of the Battle of Gods. Then, Goku and Raditz start going to Beerus' planet to train and everything. And then Gohan starts slacking off on his training, and starts working a little bit more on his studying. Starts slacking off a little bit. So Battle of Gods was a little short here. But yeah, that's what that is. So, guys, welcome back to part 4 of What If Raditz Turned Good. If you remember from last time, after everything happened with Beerus and he fell asleep, we got Goku and Raditz. They're training on Beerus' planet. And Gohan, of course, went back to studying, but he is still periodically training. That is something good. Raditz has been making sure that his nephew is training, just like he is hard on Ranch about it. Now, they're not going to be as important, like the kids and stuff, in this one. Welcome to Resurrection F. Vegeta is not there, bro. He's still dead. That's Raditz, by the way. Yeah. Moving on. So, Frieza has arrived on Earth. Now, here's all who showed up. Just like in the original, we got Krillin, Tien, Master Roshi, Gohan, Piccolo, and Jaco. Just as before. They're all 6 still there. Of course, Gohan has lacked a bit on his training. Still training a little bit more, so he's a little bit stronger here, but not too much. So, but he does go straight for Frieza. So, he does end up powering up into his mystic form before ending up dying, just as he did before in the series. So not much different has changed yet. he did just put up a little bit more of a fight with Frieza. So Goku then instant transmissions there, and he goes to fight Frieza first. He of course goes straight into Super Saiyan Blue, showing off his newer transformation with Frieza powering up into Golden. And then their battle has now begun. And then Goku gets shot from behind by, I forget his name, but you know, he gets killed too. The guy who shot Goku gets killed. Then Raditz, his turn, steps up and he goes to Super Saiyan Blue since Frieza has already seen it. And right as he's about to win, Frieza blows up the Earth and it destroys everything. And then this is where Whis reverses time to undo all of the destruction and then stopping it. So yeah, this is a pretty short arc. There's not really much about it to talk about, but anyways, so now they're back. Right before Frieza blows up the Earth, Goku shows up and obliterates Frieza. Frieza is dead now. So yeah. Now we move on to the Universe 6 arc, or God of Destruction Champa arc, whichever you like to call it. That's the one we're in. So Goku and Raditz continue up their training, of course. Whis is putting them on some chores and stuff, but they're pretty much enjoying it. They of course get the outfits on like Goku and Vegeta did for transforming during their training match, because they couldn't help it, you know. But Champa shows up with Vados. And then Beerus comes and wakes up and they do their little food competition, with Beerus eating the Don bird egg, I think is what it's called. I'm not sure. I knew like yesterday, but. And Champa and Vados eat the noodles, of course everyone else. Then the brothers, they get into a little squabble and they start fighting, where of course Whis and Vados have to stop them again. But then Goku has an idea. He says that maybe they could have a tournament, and whoever wins the tournament is like the winner and everything. And then Champa decides to put Earth on the line because he wants Earth's food. It's too good to just give up Earth's food like that. So Champa again puts up the Earth. Now they go to the nameless planet, and here is the order. For Universe 6, we have Botamo, Frost, Megiddo, Kaba, and Hit. Sorry if I get this guy's name or this guy's name wrong. I'm trying my best here. Then for Universe 7, we have Goku, Piccolo, Raditz, Gohan, and Monaka. Because, yeah, they didn't know who to put on that good slot, but Beerus decided that he was going to put Monaka. They had thought about putting Krillin up there, but they couldn't. Okay, first off is Goku versus Botamo. Now, of course, he's just hitting him and nothing much is happening. So Goku doesn't know what to do, and of course at some point decides to use his head, which surprisingly works. He knocks out Botamo. Then is now Goku versus Frost. They're fighting for a bit, they're clashing and everything. Goku calls him out on his bullcrap and forces him to transform into his quote-unquote final form, because this is obviously his third. So Goku calls him out for his bullcrap yet again, and he goes into his final form with Goku going Super Saiyan. They fight a little bit more, but then of course Goku randomly just gets knocked out of the ring. So nobody knows why, but he just gets knocked out. So maybe he got distracted and got hit in the head or got a concussion or something. Next, it also happened to Piccolo. So that was a little weird, because, you know, Piccolo, he was doing really skilled fighting. I mean, he had wrapped him up with his arms, he was about to blast him with a special beam cannon and win the match. Then all of a sudden he just passed out. He just passed out, and so they don't know what to do. Sorry, so Jocko then says, hey, maybe we should check out Frost. I mean, I saw something, you know, galactic patrolman and all. I know that there was something up. You know. So they check out Frost and they find him for cheating. But Raditz says that he still wants to fight him. So now Raditz goes on to start fighting Frost. Of course, he goes for a really good gut punch in Super Saiyan. Knocks him out instantly. Next up, Raditz goes Super Saiyan 2 to fight Vegeta, and then right off the bat calls him a walking hunk of junk and a piece of trash, and says that he will defeat him. And you know, this guy has the feelings as weak as a toothpick, so he instantly starts crying the second Raditz starts humiliating him, which Raditz is a bit confused, because I mean, he always starts his fights off with a roast, so it was kind of confusing that this big powerhouse does it. So this match actually went a little quicker. Next up was Cabba versus Raditz. Now, Raditz talks to him about Planet Sadala and King Sadala, and then finds out that even though Cabba is really strong, he doesn't know Super Saiyan. So Raditz is like, you don't know Super Saiyan? How can you not know Super Saiyan? So he goes and he starts riling him up, saying that he will destroy his planet like he had a plan to destroy Earth at first. And then he says that he is going to destroy, he's going to kill Sadala, he's going to kill his family, and everyone that he loves. And this, of course, sets Cabba off, powering him straight up into Super Saiyan, where he then goes to gut punch him. I'm gonna pretend that we're gonna pretend this is Raditz. I couldn't figure out how to get the hair to look right. So, but then Raditz just powers up to Super Saiyan Blue and quickly delivers a counter blow, knocking Cabba out almost immediately. Next up is Raditz versus Hit. Of course, he stays with Super Saiyan Blue for this one because Hit is not to be taken lightly. Because he's acting all mysterious and everything, and he doesn't know what's in store. So they're fighting and everything, and Hit just disappears and attacks him. Using his time skip, he's able to easily, quickly knock Raditz down. So Raditz is out for the count now, leaving next up to be Gohan. So next up is Gohan versus Hit. So this fight is actually going to go pretty good, because I actually did do some research and I figured out that Ultimate Gohan is about as strong as Hit. We're going to say that Gohan is about as strong as post-TOP Gohan, because he's actually been training, you know? And, you know, it wasn't that much training before he got to that point. So right now, he's basically on par with Super Saiyan Blue Goku. He may not be like as fast as Goku with the Kaioken multiplier, but he's still pretty fast and is able to actually do really good against Hit and his Mystic form here. So they're charging at each other. Hit's moving fast and Gohan's moving fast. They actually shatter the barrier, and Vados and Please have to remake it just because of the clashing that they're doing. But Hit's time skip ability was just too much for Gohan in the end, because he couldn't move inside the time skip. I mean, he could try and guess where his movements were, but that just wasn't enough. Next up was is Goku versus Hit. So now it is Goku's turn to fight Hit. So Goku is now going to fight him. Hit does hit him very quickly. People think that Goku's up for the count, leaving Monaka to be the last one. But he then powers up Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken in Hit's time skip, and he quickly deals with it. But he jumps out of the ring, saying that he wants to see Monaka fight. Then Monaka shows up and Hit realizes that this guy is the weakest person he's ever been. So he fakes get knocked out just as Then Grand Zeno shows up and quickly stops the fight. You know, so he quickly stops the fight and says that they shouldn't be doing this unless they inform him. Of course, he does get in a little bit of an idea for his own tournament, but it doesn't really develop much more than that. But Champa then posts the video on GodTube. Goasu was, of course, watching the GodTube videos, saw the hit, everything. And then someone else saw it. And we don't know who that is, but he saw something. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Masked Matt here. So, if you remember last time, they had done the Universal 6 tournament, and Zeno had stopped it, and Goku gave him the idea for another one, and Goasu was watching GodTube and saw the fight. There was another mysterious person who was watching behind. So that puts us in here. So while the Z Fighters are minding their business and everything, Trunks is at school and stuff, he notices something. Of like what seems to be this weird capsule corp machine appears out of nowhere. And of course inside he sees a girl, and her name is of course Ranch. So Raditz and Goku are training on Beerus' world, but Bulma contacts them through Whis, and they need to get back to Earth as soon as possible so that they can then see what is going on for Ranch to come back. So Goku tries to lock onto their energy, Trunks powers up, Goku senses onto it, and he transports him and Raditz there. Whenever Ranch wakes up, she starts hallucinating Raditz as this mysterious figure. So then she instantly hops into action, trying to punch him, but then she of course realizes who he is, that he is not this evil person that she thought he was. Next, she decides to, they want to see how strong and far each other has gotten, so Raditz hops straight into Super Saiyan, Ranch showing off that she has unlocked something far beyond that she is calling Super Saiyan 3. And Goku, of course, makes a comment mentioning how she kind of looks like her father now. But they go in to fight, and then Raditz shows off Super Saiyan Blue, easily defeating Ranch, even mentioning that Super Saiyan 3 is not very suitable for fighting because of how much energy it drains, and Ranch has kind of seen that a little bit, especially in her fight in the future. Well, they then end up going to the future where they meet up with future Trunks, who has been struggling fighting these people. Now, Ranch mentioned that there were two figures, and they each looked like Goku and Raditz. Now, of course, Goku Black shows up, and Raditz says that he's going to have fun absolutely destroying his brother in combat, and hops right in going Super Saiyan Blue. But it's quickly proven wrong after Goku Black, after seeing Super Saiyan Blue, hops into Super Saiyan Rose, not without much effort. Well, he quickly defeats Raditz, so Goku decides that he will hop in and take over. But then, even though he might have some chance when Goku Black might have been weakened, and Raditz Black shows up and quickly takes down Goku, even knocking him back down into Super Saiyan, causing them to retreat. So back in the present, they have to, think about what they're gonna do. They even talk about who possibly could have caused this, because there's no way that they're evil. I mean, they were dead in the future. So they have to figure out what exactly happened. Well, then, out of nowhere, Goku Black shows up. And he shows up through a time portal using the time ring after trying to figure out where the others went. And he instantly goes Super Saiyan Rose, Goku hops into Super Saiyan Blue, and they start clashing. But then, not too long after, he instantly gets pulled back through the portal. Now, Beerus and Whis recognize this energy. they recognize who that energy was. They say that they mentioned this guy named Zamasu. Goku says that he would like to meet him, so they travel into space and meet Zamasu. Or Gowasu. And then Goku spars with Zamasu, recognizing the energy that matches both Black and Raditz. But, of course, he quickly defeats Zamasu with ease, and then right after they figure out what his plot was, they destroy him. But since Goku Black and Raditz Black are wearing a time ring, this does not affect them. Now, if you're wondering what the story is here, Zamasu used the Super Dragon Balls after assassinating Gowasu to become Goku Black, where he then went into the past and went into the future and met up with future Zamasu and used some other means to then turn Zamasu's body into Raditz Black. Well, then they of course head back after that. And what happened on Earth? So, Ranch, wanting to prove that she is way stronger than her counterpart, decides that she wants to fight him, showing off Super Saiyan 2, which does leave Ranch a little bit surprised that her younger counterpart can already go Super Saiyan 2. But she doesn't even need to transform to defeat her younger self. Now, Raditz suggests that they do a bunch of trainings. You know, Raditz is all about training and everything and getting stronger. So Goku decides to agree, and they all do their own training, with Raditz and Goku having their own private training session. Ranch was on the brink of learning a new transformation, mixing Ikari with Super Saiyan. And then Trunks was able to come up with his own God Ki form, combining God Ki with Super Saiyan. Ranch saw it and thought as a last resort maybe she could do that too. But Super Saiyan 4, or whatever they decide to call it, was way stronger than that. So they go ahead and head back into the future, where Goku Black and Raditz Black are already standing. And they are already ready to fight. Well, Raditz and Ranch don't have much of a trouble taking down Raditz Black with their training, actually getting them pretty strong, because Goku and Raditz used the hyperbolic time chamber, and that Ikari Super Saiyan form was actually really strong and actually helped a whole bunch during it. Also, they did use a little bit of grabbing his tail, since he does not know how to control his tail like Raditz does. All they had to do was just grab his tail, weaken him up a bit because they were faster than him. Trunks and Goku were able to swiftly get rid of Goku Black as well, not having that much trouble with them double teaming. Well, with them backed into a corner, Raditz Black and Goku Black fuse Zamasu, actually being able to push themselves into Super Saiyan Rose, seeing as both of them are technically Saiyans. But since they are still originally Zamasu, they still become Zamasu. Well, now Zamasu is going to cause them a little bit of trouble. But also, when they were training, Goku taught Ranch and Trunks a very powerful technique that could maybe help stop this. So they perform the fusion dance and fuse into Ranch, and they instantly go into Super Saiyan 4 Rage. Or, mixing Ikari with the God Ki Super Saiyan form. And they're actually pretty much on par with Fuse Zamasu, but Fuse Zamasu was still able to overpower them, and within 30 minutes, they had unfused. Goku and Raditz tried to hop in, but they could not do much, with Raditz even being knocked back down into Super Saiyan, Goku breaking his arms just like he did originally, and Trunks ended up using so much energy in that God Ki form that he can no longer fight. Even his sword broke while they were fighting. And Ranch tried to use it, but it didn't really work out as much. But they were all feeling defeated until Uzamazu, while gloating, mentioned something that might have set off 2 of the members. He said that he said that they had killed Launch, and that she even put up a bit of a fight, but it was all useless in the end whenever they ruthlessly killed her. And then of course that fired up Ranch and Raditz. They both powered up, Ranch actually even forcing herself to use some God Ki and using Super Saiyan with the God Ki form, and then Raditz pushing himself into Super Saiyan Blue. And then they, of course, both were absolutely destroying Zamazu, but they couldn't exactly kill him just because of how strong he was. You do have to remember, he is not immortal here. They are just very powerful. So then they punch, and then they move out of the way for Trunks to reveal himself with the Spirit Bomb sword. And he thanks everyone as he stabs straight through Fused Zamazu, cutting him in half and ending the fight very abruptly. And then and they of course go back to the present time. What's up, guys? Mass Matt here, and welcome to the finale of What If Raditz Had Turned Good. If you remember last time, they had taken out Zamazu with the power of the Spirit Sword and everything. Now, Goku and Raditz have been training on King Kai's planet with, they've just been training, trying to get their power up. And Goku remembers Zeno mentioning a tournament, the Tournament of Power. Now, of course, he wants to go ask Zeno about this tournament because he thinks Zeno would have forgotten. Well, Beerus is not too happy about this, thinking that if Goku says the wrong thing, then their universe would be destroyed. Now, Raditz hops in front of Goku, challenging Beerus. Now, Beerus is very offended by this challenge, but he accepts, not realizing that Goku is going to head to Zeno's place, but with Raditz also kind of wanting to see how he would fare against the God of Destruction currently, since it's been a while since Battle of Gods. Now, Beerus doesn't notice Goku pulling out his Zeno button and going to the Grand Palace, where he talks to Zeno, and Zeno says that he will alert all of the universes in this instant to kind of, tell him about it and get it going. And Goku's happy and asks the Grand Priest to take him home, which the Grand Priest says he will do. Now, back on Beerus' planet, Raditz and Beerus are fighting. And, well, of course Raditz is losing, but he just doing a little bit better than Goku did in Battle of Gods, with Beerus having to use almost double to almost triple the amount of power he used in Battle of Gods. But that instant before Beerus throws the supernova, Grand Priest shows up with Goku, where Goku stops the supernova from hitting Raditz and himself, where Beerus is scared because he technically just threw a supernova at Grand Priest. Well, Grand Priest does apologize, saying that it is probably his fault for teleporting in front of it, and assuming that they are just training and not actually fighting. And then he, of course, says his goodbyes and takes his leave. Next, so Beerus asks Goku and Raditz if they can, go ahead and find some recruits for the tournament for their Team 10. Well, Goku and Raditz already know their first 4, being Goku, Raditz, Gohan, and Piccolo. Seeing as fact that they are the strongest 4 currently, especially with Gohan training a little bit more, his power is a little bit higher, but not by much. And no, he has not unlocked his beast form, because that would require rage, which he has not really had to push him there. Now, of course, when they think that all hope is lost, a time ring portal opens up, stepping out Trunks, Ranch, and the future Supreme Kai. And they, of course, tell them that they are Supreme Kai in training, and just gained X, and had just asked the Supreme Kai if they could come and say hi, and let them know about it, and everything, so that if they needed any help. And this is perfect. They do need help, right now, for the Tournament of Power. So they ask him, and they said that they'll join. And the future Supreme Kai is okay with this, saying that he will come back in he'll come back in a week, which is when the tournament is. So the tournament is in about a week, so he'll go ahead and come back then to pick them up. But first, before he leaves, Goku asks if he can go back to the past to do something, and he says sure, going to Namek and getting the Namekian Dragon Balls from the future, which the Namekians don't mind knowing Goku and how he saved them. Now, Goku will take the Dragon Balls, summon Porunga, and use them to bring back future Goku. Because future Goku died to natural causes, the normal Dragon Balls just aren't strong enough to do that. But Porunga was. Now, future Goku wants to wish back future Vegeta and future Raditz, which they do with Earth's Dragon Balls, so they don't have to wait for the Namekian ones. But all three of them know the Ikari Super Saiyan form, which they learned in their time in Otherworld. And then for the last member, they have Master Roshi, since this is a battle royale of skill and not a fight to the death. His power doesn't really matter, but he knows a lot of techniques, probably more than all of them combined. So, Master Roshi joins the tournament, bringing a bunch of capsules for the Evil Demon Containment Wave. Now, usually the exhibition match would take place to show future Zeno how tournaments work. But here's the thing, future Zeno isn't here because they were able to stop Zamasu because he wasn't immortal. He was weaker because he wasn't immortal because instead of using the wish to make him immortal, they used it to become Raditz Black. So instead, they have only present Zeno, who already knows how the tournament works from seeing the Universe 6 tournament. Now, they do have a little bit of extra time to train because of this. So Raditz goes to Beerus, asking if he can get a grip on that destroyer power, so that maybe one day he can surpass Beerus even. If you can't beat him, join him, or, beating fire with fire. Well, Beerus is fine with this, saying that maybe he could even be the next god of destruction, which Raditz kind of likes that idea. I mean, he would like the ability to fly around finding strong warriors to fight, and helping bring peace to the entire universe by destroying all the bad people and keeping balance to the world. But anyways, Beerus and Raditz go ahead and train, with Beerus saying if you want to control this power, you must be able to endure it, or, at least endure it enough to control it, kind of like Frieza did back in the anime. Now, Raditz, inside of this God of Destruction orb, doesn't know what to do. Even Super Saiyan Blue isn't enough to get him out of it. But then Beerus mentions that you must be able to let go of all of your past regrets, and not regret anything to be able to control destruction energy, and to be one with it. Now, this of course brings Raditz back to the things that he regrets. He regrets all the people that he murdered, even beating up his brother and stealing Gohan. But with a little bit of thought, he's able to forgive himself for it, seeing as the fact that Goku already forgave him all the way back when he let go of his tail for the first time in their first battle. So, knowing this, Raditz is able to overpower the Hakai, even controlling it a little bit and bursting out of it. And Beerus says that it's good and that they can keep sparring a little bit, but he then turns back base and passes out. Now, Goku took a more of a godly approach. Well, he took a different approach, trying to help the future fighters gain a little bit more power so that then they can fight. So Trunks already knows a little bit of God Ki, but it doesn't hurt for him to have a better grasp over it by being able to regulate it to a point where he can move around, even being able to go Super Saiyan Rage. Now, Goku and future Vegeta, of course, go in there to gain some God Ki too, helping multiply their power a little bit so that they can be basically on par with Goku and Vegeta, which does actually work. Well, it does work. Future Goku and future Vegeta are on par with Goku and Raditz, and everyone else, making them a good asset to the team. with, of course, Trunks getting a better aspect and even a better grasp over his magic in general. Now, Gohan and Piccolo are, of course, fighting. They're training and sparring and stuff, just like old times, gaining better grasps over their own power, with Piccolo remembering Piccolo remembers when Gohan got his potential unlocked on Namek, and wondered if the Dragon Balls could do the same thing, which they could. Now, he doesn't get the little bit of extra thrown in there because Shenron is not that powerful. So, without that power, there's not much that Shenron can do there. So, he just gets his yellowish form, which will be a good asset in the Tournament of Power, allowing him to stick around longer. Then, of course, future Raditz wants to catch up with his daughter, so they spar for a bit, with Ranch showing that she also has Ikari Super Saiyan. And then, future Vegeta wants to see how his old colleague is doing in the present time. So they have a little bit of a sparring match, but the God Ki actually giving him much of a boost here, that they can actually be pretty equal, with Raditz only barely winning against Vegeta. So yeah, that was a close fight, with Raditz barely winning. Next, Bulma makes Goku and Vegeta new outfits, giving Vegeta his old armor back, which he is very happy about, and getting Goku back. Of course, the true reason I did this is because it's easier for the assets, for me, and of course, for a little surprise later in the Tournament of Power. Now, the tournament starts with Grand Prix giving a rundown of why this tournament was necessary and what the intentions were for it, and basically, just the gist of the losing universes and stuff, and how Universe 7 and 9 are the weakest. So the battle begins. Universe 9, knowing that they're the weakest, wants to try and, take out one of the strongest people there, which they can kind of tell from his power that he's already shown so far, is Goku. So they think if they can take out Goku, then they have a chance of taking out everyone else. But they go for Universe 7 just in general, trying to take out everyone else. So, Gohan and Piccolo jump in, taking out a few of Universe 9, with the Gokus, of course, going straight for the strongest, going straight towards the Danger Trio, who use the Danger Triangle. Vegeta knocks out a few of them with the Blast, same with Raditz. Then, of course, they use the Danger Flash, which is stopped by a Kamehameha Sunday, and then Universe 9, which, pretend like the other one isn't here, is erased. Then, Goku sees Caulifla and Kale, who were excited to meet Goku in the first place. Which then Caulifla shows off Super Saiyan Grade 2 and 3, and doesn't know what the problem is with her. And then Goku shows that what she's basically trying to get is Super Saiyan 3. But says that first she must master Super Saiyan 2, and shows her Super Saiyan 2, which she easily unlocks, knowing its power, kind of. And then she goes to master that by fighting Goku. And then Kale gets jealous, going Super Saiyan Berserk, trying to take out Goku, but Goku is skillfully dodging her, not finding an opening to actually attack her with. And the other Goku is fighting someone else, but Kale knocks out a few of the other people with her attack, with Jiren knocking her out of form basically, and Pride Troopers go to finish the job, with Kale gaining somewhat control over her power and fighting with Caulifla to defeat them with the blast. Then, of course, we go over to Master Roshi. Even though he's fatigued, he shows off his strongest Kamehameha, knocks out a few other people with the Evil Demon Containment Wave, seeing why he was a good asset here, knocking out a few of the strong people. Then, of course, Frost shows up trying to fight him, while at the same time, Raditz is fighting Botama and Vegeta. Now, this fight, it does take place earlier, as you can see, by the fact that Gohan has not taken out Botama and is still fighting with Vegeta. Well, then, whenever Master Roshi goes to use Evil Demon Containment Wave on Frost, Frost redirects it towards Raditz, locking him away instead. But then Master Roshi is able to blast open the container, releasing Raditz, who had powered up into Super Saiyan Blue, and knocks out Rotama and Vegeta, calling him a tin can, knocking him off easily. Then, as Frost tries to escape, future Raditz shows up and knocks him out by grabbing him by the tail and throwing him off. And then Master Roshi jumps off because his physical health is not doing that well. Well, the Gokus at some point did reunite and currently are fighting Ribrianne, which I think is Universe 2. So they've been taking out people from Universe 2, leaving Ribrianne to be the last one left, causing her to turn into her giant form, but Trunks using his magic to form an energy sword, so much kind of like whenever they fought Goku Black and Zamasu, or Goku Black and Raditz Black. He is using his magic here to regulate his energy to form a sword, because if he used his real sword that would be cheating, but he makes his sword as big as he can, imbuing as much energy as possible, which is much easier now with the amount of God Ki he got from that training. And with the help of Ranch, he's able to take down Ribrianne. Now, the Gokus, of course, go and try to fight Jiren, knowing that he's the strongest, and think that together they can take him down. Now, of course, Jiren insults them for this, saying that they have to fight together to even get close to beating him. Which is mostly true, because they even have to power up into their current strongest forms, with Goku going Super Saiyan Blue, and Goku and future Goku jumping into Ikari Super Saiyan. Which of course wasn't enough, causing them to have to create a Spirit Bomb, which is a little bit more powerful this time around, with everyone giving energy to it, and 2 Gokus making the fusion. Even Vegeta gets energy. Now, Jiren is able to stop the Spirit Bomb with 2 hands and push it back. Even with Goku and future Goku powering up their forms even more. Goku, of course, just charging up some more ki to even try to push it back a little bit more, with future Goku imbuing God Ki, creating a new form that he just unlocked, which he's going to be calling Ikari God. But pushing it back still isn't enough, so Goku punches future Goku out of the way, instead getting himself trapped inside the Spirit Bomb. Now everyone thinks that he is dead, and he eliminated himself, meaning that Jiren will not be penalized for it. But then, out of nowhere, a beam of light shoots up out of the arena, revealing that Goku is not dead and has unlocked another form. The gods pay their respect to this amazing form. Goku, of course, uses his Ultra Instinct to fight the Pride Troopers, and even tries to go after Jiren, just like in the anime. But just like in the anime, it's not enough. Having just unlocked his power and being very low on energy, his form does not last very long. Jiren amends him, and then Jiren goes to meditate while Goku tries to flee away. But as Jiren goes to meditate, Hit shows up. Not to repay his debt this time, because, in the tournament, Monako wasn't there, so there's no debt to be paid. But Hit just wants to try out his ability, seeing if he can get out one of the strongest there, knowing that Goku is one of the strongest and Jiren is even stronger than him. But, of course, even with trapping Jiren in time, Jiren is able to stop Hit with just his eyes, while of course getting Hit knocked out. Now, Kaba wants to check out his future master. He wants to see just how strong he is. Now, future Raditz didn't do the godly training because he didn't want to go through all that, and mostly just because he spent that time training with Ranch instead. So, he does have God Ki, but not as much as everyone else. So, Raditz does power up into Super Saiyan 2, but after insulting Kaba a little bit, saying it just like Vegeta did in the Universe 6 tournament in the anime, pushes Kaba into Super Saiyan 2, which of course makes future Raditz proud of this student that his present self has taken on. And then, of course, Raditz powers up into Super Saiyan 3 and tries his best to fight off Kappa, and actually ends up knocking the both of them out with their beams clashing, creating a giant explosion, knocking out multiple other warriors. Now, Caulifla and Kale go in to fight Goku, which of course Goku is still trying to regain from his fight with Jiren, cycles through his forms, but then they fuse into Kefla. Now, Goku doesn't know what to do. She's running around, knocking out a bunch of warriors nearby, even ending up knocking out Future Trunks and Range, who tried to stop her, but weren't enough. They even tried doing fusion, but Ronks wasn't even enough to stop her. Now, of course, after someone mentions that Potara should be illegal, Zeno says that he likes it and does not really care too much about them using fusion because it's just really fun, which gives Future Goku an idea. Originally, they had planned not to use fusion because it gets out two warriors at once. But Future Goku has an idea, of course remembering something in the past and asking them if they could give them the Potara, which, after a little bit of bargaining, Beerus decides to go ahead, trusting that Goku is the strongest. So maybe he has an idea of what a nice fusion might be. Now, Goku had to power up into Super Saiyan Blue, still not even being able to rival against Kefla, who powered up into Super Saiyan 2. Now, Goku is of course being pushed to his limit, about to be basically knocked out of the form. But then, a familiar warrior uses instant transmission and teleports in between the two of them. Now, this warrior, of course, being Future Vegeta. Future Goku, after remembering their fight with Boo and remembering how much it closed the gap, how much Potara closed the gap that time, decided to fuse with Future Vegeta, which actually surprisingly made a good fusion because they are the perfect fit. He thought about doing it with his brother, but they're not close to being on the same power level, and assumed that it would be stronger with Vegeta. And actually, with Vegeta, he's able to reach the Ikari God form, but way easier, and it's actually way stronger. It gives a way stronger multiplier than before. And now, after a brief battle which knocks out some more contestants, Kefla uses her I Win attack against Vegeta's final Kamehameha, which of course Vegeta overpowers her here and knocks her out. Now, Gohan, with Piccolo having his power awakened, he actually stayed in the tournament longer this time, and Gohan decides that he's going to sacrifice himself to get out Dispo, because with Dispo being so fast, he just grabs him and tells Piccolo to fire a special beam cannon, not one to penetrate through them, but one just strong enough to push them both out of the ring, which does work, with Piccolo pushing both Gohan and Dispo out of the ring. Also, at this time, Raditz is fighting Toppo, which of course is the time that Toppo reveals that he is the next God of Destruction candidate. Now, Raditz is actually happy to hear this, another Destruction candidate, except he seems a little bit further in his training, having the God of Destruction form. Now, Raditz doesn't know if he's going to be able to take this god, but he's going to try his best, even though he knows the power of destruction. Now, of course, Vegeta, before his fusion runs out, he wants to go ahead and try, powering up to his very limit, but he got trapped inside of a Hakai. He's still powering up, and just before he's able to break out of the Hakai, he uses so much power that the fusion just snaps, with Vegeta and Goku falling. Next, of course, Piccolo tries to take him on, thinking that his powered awakened form might be enough. But with a quick Justice Flash, Piccolo is also easily knocked out, with his power not being enough to contend with Toppo's. So Piccolo is knocked out. So then, Raditz then reveals that he's also training to be a god of destruction, flashing that he can even mix the destruction energy with Super Saiyan Blue. But it's not as strong as Toppo, but it should be strong enough to at least keep him in the ring for a while. Now, Goku of course hops in here too, having got back up enough energy to transform back into Super Saiyan Blue and stack on a Kaioken multiplier. And they go in to fight Jiren, and then they both try to blast him, and with another Kamehameha Sunday, but it just wasn't enough, with Jiren pushing them both back and pushing Goku to his limit, where he enters second Omen of Ultra Instinct. And then Raditz is able to power himself up, seeing how strong his brother has gotten, is able to push himself back into using Destruction Energy, and he's going to try his best to try and take out Jiren. Now, Goku's knocked out here because he never got as much use with the form as he did in the anime. If you remember, originally, he had his second Omen with Kefla, which then allowed him to get enough training to fight Jiren and unlock Master Ultra Instinct. Well, this is second Omen. So, Goku loses Ultra Instinct and gets knocked out of the tournament by Jiren. Now at this point, Raditz is losing hope. He can't use any more Destruction Energy or else he'll wreck his body and probably end up destroying himself. And he's stuck fighting Jiren alone. He's afraid that he's going to lose, but thinks that he might be able to run out the clock, knowing that he's taken out more people than Jiren has. And if he can wait for the time to run out, he'll be the MVP and they'll win. But it doesn't seem like he's going to get a chance to get away from Jiren. Every time he tries, Jiren stops him. And then, two warriors who they thought had been defeated show up, with Belmont saying those two are still in the ring, just like in the anime. Now, Goku and Vegeta have been strategically planning in the background. They had fallen on rocks. Lucky to be alive, they have been trying their best to get their energy back up, which they were able to do. All of them power up into Super Saiyan, which is the most that Raditz can muster right now, because Super Saiyan Blue is too much for him to handle, but Super Saiyan does seem like a suitable replacement for now. So Goku, Vegeta, and Raditz all power up into Super Saiyan, with them all firing the strongest attacks, which we'll be calling we'll call it the Gallic Kamehameha, the Kamehameha Sunday, which, with that blast, pushes Jiren back, making Jiren lose some hope in his power, which Toppo then gives his speech to Jiren, allowing him to stand back up. So then, future Goku and Vegeta muster all the power they can, pushing themselves into a Kari God, and punching them, and then knocking themselves out with Jiren, not having enough strength to even get back into the ring. So, with Raditz being the MVP, he powers back down, and wishes for all the universes to be brought back. And that wish is granted, which is what Zeno had wanted. Now, we would move on after this to Broly, Granola, and Mora, but all three of these sagas require Frieza to be there. Frieza needs to be there to get Broly, and, everything else. Well, Moro doesn't really require Frieza to be there, but he's not going to be much of a problem for them, with Raditz actually getting a chance to pop off in a Kai and destroys Moro. So all three of these sagas aren't really long enough to be topicked over. But we will be going over Dragon Ball Super, Super Hero. Since Broly never happened, Goku and Raditz are actually showing up on Earth a lot more. And one of their times while they're on Earth, the Gammas take this chance to maybe, attack them. Knowing that they've come back often, they actually waited so that they could fight Goku and Raditz. With Goku and Raditz powering up and almost defeating them, and figuring out they're misinformed, and actually telling them that they're the good guys, that they've been going around saving the universe and stuff. Well, the Gammas hear this, relay the information to Dr. Hedo through their communicators. Well, Magenta hears this and releases Cell Max, knowing that, of course, there's no way that he's going to be able to convince them to keep fighting. So the Gammas tell Goku and Vegeta how to beat Cell. If they can just attack his head, then they'll win. So Goku and Raditz actually power up into their currently strongest forms. Goku showing that with a little bit more training with Whis, he was able to actually unlock Mastered Ultra Instinct. He hasn't unlocked the technique just yet, but he does have Mastered Ultra Instinct. And then also, Raditz shows off that he has unlocked Ultra Ego, a form imbued with the power of destruction itself. And with them both blasting a devastating blast, they were able to easily overpower Cell Max and finish him off. And that's going to be the end of this scenario. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do enjoy making these. It is really fun to make them and stuff. So if you guys do enjoy, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And please give me suggestions on what other what ifs I can do. That would be very much appreciated. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a good week. I'll see you guys in the next one. Master Matt, out.